Welcome to the J.A.W.N podcast. I'm your host, Shalia.
And your host, Shanina.
Today's words of affirmation say, it's behind you, let it go. And this week's word of the week is optimistic. And optimistic means to be hopeful and confident about the future. A person who is inclined to be hopeful and to expect good outcomes or believing that good things will happen. An optimistic person thinks the best possible thing will happen and hopes for it, even if it's not likely. If you see the glass as half full when others sees it as half empty, you look on the bright side of things and you are optimistic. So don't forget to be optimistic. What's up with you, sis? You cool?
I'm not, but I wish I could be optimistic more frequently. But I feel like I tend to be pessimistic, but I need to work on that being optimistic, but I'm okay.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. So you just okay?
I'm just okay. Yeah. I
Okay.
was fine. I was fine an hour ago, but I'm just okay.
Listen, some days that's how it be. Things be changing, and you be like, "What the heck is going on?" But just be optimistic. Be optimistic. Um, I'm good. I had a good day. I went to the dentist today, and I don't know if I told you I've been using like this oil pulling mouthwash.
No, I was just on Amazon looking at stuff for oil pulling today.
So I've been using it. So last time I went to the dentist, they were telling me I had this gum disease that's caused by one of my medications. Um, and they was like, you had I had to get all this work done.
Hmm.
Today when I went to I still need to get a deep cleaning, but I don't need to get a whole bunch of treatments because it's improved. And I don't need all the work that I previously needed to get.
Wow, that's
So
crazy. That is
yeah.
so wild because I literally was just looking at this lady's video and she was talking about no, somebody was in her comments saying they were a dentist because she's always doing like holistic and natural remedies for stuff on her videos. And somebody was on her comments saying, like, well, that's not true. I'm a dentist.
It's true.
And she told the story about how she went to the dentist and one of her gums was receding and she started oil pulling and her gums like went back to normal.
Because today, so they do like a thing where they check your gums and you either
Yeah,
get like a one. So previously,
they
like a
measure it.
lot, yeah, they measure it. So previously,
Mhm.
I was like in the fours and fives, and now I
Okay.
have one that's a four and one side over here that's a four and one over here that's a five, but the rest of them are ones and twos, which is a great
Okay.
improvement.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it definitely works. You just have to do it every day, like you have to be consistent with it. So. Cause that I went to the dentist, I wanna say back in March, and it's November, so it works. So I was happy to hear that. That was good. So now I don't have to spend as much money as I previously would had to. So
That's good.
yeah.
Always a good thing.
Yep. Alright, so oh, I like that joint or nope, I don't like that joint. What you got for this week?
I guess I have a I like that John. I watched the documentary on Netflix, the Slide documentary with Sylvester Stallone.
Okay.
And he was kind of like, telling his story. I never knew that he wrote the Rockies. I never knew that. I never knew that he wrote, directed, and played in them.
You know, the only reason why I know that is because Eric's nephew is obsessed with Rocky, and he has
Really?
me all this reasons he's obsessed with Rocky, and they like know all about Rocky and
It's
can
so
recite the
funny.
lines and all that stuff. Yeah, so that's the only reason why I know that.
That is so funny. That is so different to be obsessed.
Yes, child.
um, but yeah, he talked a lot about his childhood and um just the things that the things that he went through um with his parents and just his whole career really. But yeah, it was
Hmm.
good.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check it out. So my I like that joint. Y'all know I'm always talk about food. But a few weeks ago we had went to Longhorn and I had got their spinach dip, and the spinach dip was good, but the pita chips that they served it with, they were hot and soft and fluffy. I was like, oh my God. Cause usually when you get spinach dip at restaurants, they serve it with chips. And so I was like, let me look up the copycat recipe for this. So I made it at home. It was really good. Um, and then while I was at the store looking for different snacks because I'm a snacker, but I realized that I need to snack on more healthier things. I came across these organic fruit jerkies, and it's literally a whole. I got mango and pineapple, so they literally ground. I don't know how they do it, but it's the whole mango and the whole pineapple that they put into a fruit jerky, and it's so good. It tastes like a fruit roll up.
Okay, yeah.
Um, so I was kind of skeptical, and I only bought those two, but I was like, I need to go back and get more because they're really good. They don't have any added sugars or preservatives or anything like that. So those are my I like that joints. All right, prime time. What you buy this week?
um, so because I have my trip next week for work, I bought a couple of outfits off Temu. So we're
Okay.
gonna see. We're gonna see how
Actually, when
those.
I went out with over the weekend, Nishita had on a really cute outfit, like a jumper, and she's like, I only paid $2 for this off of Temu. I was like, really? It was
two
so cute.
dollars.
Yeah, because she said she got it when they gave her like a 90% off coupon or something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'm gonna get some stuff, but I'm gonna buy a gift card first because I can't. Sidebar, you heard about all these banks shutting down? Child. Anyway, that's why I need to get a gift card. And I ended up switching all my money out of the bank into the credit union. So I can't be playing around with these banks and my money show up missing the next day. But that's all you bought?
Um, yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Did they
pretty
come
much.
yet?
No, hopefully they come. They supposed to come one day this week.
Okay. So
Hopefully
when do you
they
leave?
come soon on Monday.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully it come before Friday. I think it's all yeah. I already got my tracking information, but I think I paid extra for um faster shipping.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay. Well, hopefully everything fit. That'd be the thing. We're
I
ordering
know.
stuff online. Mm.
I know it's
Um,
such a gamble. Um,
right.
I'm just not. I don't know, and it's so crazy because my coworker on Monday, I asked her like, "Well, how was her weekend?" And she was like, "It was good. She packed for the trip." And I'm like, "Girl, I'm not even nowhere near close to packing." But she leave on Sunday,
Oh, okay.
and I leave on Monday. So
Okay. What did I? Oh, I bought a new iron because the iron that we have it be acting weird. So I don't have time for that. So I bought a new iron and then I bought these things that go on the bottom of the door that block out the draft.
oh
So I
yeah,
bought those. Cause it at night it's been getting really cold here. And so I bought those for the front door, the back door and the basement, like the garage where you come in through the garage. and they've been working. So
Mhm.
yeah, should have been bought them.
Yeah, I need to buy a new one. I had one on my front door for a long time.
Yeah. All right, so you gotta hit this joint up is where we highlight a small business. And this week we are highlighting an organization called Yeah Incorporated. And Yeah stands for Youth Empowerment for Advanced Hangout. And it is a youth organization. It's teen led and it serves West Philly and South Philly. And the program is designed to elevate teens, um, changing how teens address youth violence and systematic oppression. They are located at 5257 Walton Avenue. Their phone number is 267-892-3598. Their email is teens@yeahphilly.org. And you can find them on Instagram and Facebook at Yeah Philly. And they are, I just really found out about this organization. Somebody sent it to me in my inbox, and it's actually a really good program. So they recently opened a grocery store in a free grocery store
Oh
in West
yeah.
Philadelphia, and it's all teen ran, and the teens get to come there and they have a job, and it's helping out the community, but it's also giving the teens something to do.
Yeah, I did see that.
So I definitely um, I like this organization. I was reading about it, reading some of the stories of the young men who would help them get off the street or get out of prison and prevent them from um, having to go into different atmospheres and things because this organization was able to give them a job and keep them off the street so they won't return back to jail. So make sure y'all hit up this organization, Yeah Philly, and support them. Or if you know a teenager that may need a job, they are still hiring. Or if you want to support them or volunteer at their organization. So again, you can find them on Instagram and Facebook at Yeah Philly.
You want to do current events or
I don't have anything. Oh, actually, I do. Um, what is it called? Yeah, I just lost my train of thought. The girls that got the podcast,
be Simone?
B Simone and
Her
Megan, is that
friend.
her name?
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Yeah.
Uh, B Simone and Megan, I believe that's her name. They ended their podcast because
Did
they
they
were
end it?
basically, yeah. It said that they're no
Oh,
longer friends and that so they had, I don't know if you've seen it, they had recorded an episode where they were addressing
yeah.
their issues and talking about
I
therapy.
so I just found out. I just saw like what's the girl name? It's this blogger that's always like doing videos, and she was talking about it. But I feel like I've seen a clip for that episode, but I didn't know like that. I don't really watch or listen to their podcast, so I didn't know that um that episode was about like I thought they talked about their friendship, but not like in that way.
Yeah, so they recently, so the episode is deleted.
Right.
The episode is no longer available. But from the clips that people, of course, the internet is vicious. They got clips and all kinds of stuff. But they were basically saying how the only time they talk to each other is for work.
Mhm.
They don't talk outside of that, and that they're going to therapy, but they don't know how that's going to work. And it was heavy. It was really heavy, and it's sad that it ended that way for them. But I know Megan recently went through a divorce,
Mm.
and she was talking about that how it literally changed her family dynamic and things like that. And I know when you go through something serious like that, you really can't. Not saying that you shouldn't, but sometimes you really can't be what you used to be for your friends because you're going through this healing and rediscovering yourself because she talks about that. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, but from what I saw and what I heard, it felt like after that things kind of went downhill for them. So hopefully
Mm.
they can go to therapy because we kind of talked about that last week of how friendships, relationships, everything. Sometimes you do have to take it to therapy to get it together. So hopefully they can rekindle their friendship. Um, and get I don't know about the podcast, but hopefully they can
Yeah,
get
because
it
they were
together.
saying like that they hadn't talked in like 6 months, but it's like they were best friends supposedly, and they known each other for 20 years,
Right.
and it's
That's why I
like,
said I feel like from what I saw after Megan's divorce, it was a shift.
hmm,
Which is like I said, it's
interesting.
understandable. But I feel like at that time, the that's when your friends would be more supportive. But everybody again, everybody don't have that in them. They still think you
Yeah,
supposed
it
to.
seemed like their dynamics of their friendship was that Megan was always supporting B Simone. So
Mhm.
I know sometimes what happens is when you're the friend that doesn't always need much, that people are used to not giving much, not being there for you. And then it's like when you need something from somebody, you don't know how to ask for it. And because sometimes you're not asking for it, people are unaware that you need it. And a lot of times that builds resentment because you're like, well, shit, I was there for them when they went through this, went through that, went through that. You know what I mean? But everybody's not you.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
sometimes people need to know that um you need them too. But I don't know. It's just it's unfortunate being as though that they were friends for that long.
Right. Yeah.
And especially if you like are in the industry and this is somebody who knew you before you blew up
Mhm.
or whatever. But yeah,
And
I
then
didn't get a chance to really divulge into what was going on with them because I just recently seen a video, I think earlier today about them. But I didn't know that they ended the podcast. I know that I feel like the girl was saying something like B Simone was okay with just continuing the podcast, but not really being friends.
right, right. I was gonna say B Simone seemed real nonchalant, because Megan was like, we're going to therapy, and she was saying it's something that this is something that I've been thought that we needed, and B Simone was like, you did. Like she was real standoffish about it. I was like,
Yeah, she
yeah.
got a lot of growing to do, a lot of maturing to do. I feel like Megan was the more mature friend. Um,
Mhm,
but she probably felt like it was things that she wasn't receptive of telling her
mhm.
too. But yeah, because like the blogger was saying, like, yeah, well, and it was ironic because we just recently talked about that when she was like, yeah, they said they was going to therapy. I mean, me and my friends were saying that if you got to go to therapy as friends, then you should just let it go. And I'm just like, you can go to
Not
therapy with any relationship.
I was gonna say they've been friends for a very long time. It's not like, oh, let's do a podcast together and they became friends from that. They were already friends for years.
Yes. But
So,
people
and the
don't
fact,
realize, a lot of people don't realize. I know Issa talks about this, like friendship breakups are very hard
yeah,
and it's hurtful.
right. And the fact that, you know, B Simone was okay with just continuing the podcast, not handling what the root of the issue was. How is the energy going to be? How are we going to do this podcast and we supposed to be talking about, things that are healing and being transparent when our relationship is a mess? No, they don't work like that. Hopefully they can get it together. We'll
Right,
see.
because it's not like they had like an entertainment podcast where they had like brought on guests or anything like that. Like you guys literally were just like talking about real life things.
Yeah, they
So
had guests sometimes, but still, like I
that
said, in
wasn't
no
like the
way.
root of the podcast where it
No,
was like
no.
Jason Lee or something. You know what I
Yeah, it's
mean?
no way that y'all could have continued with that energy. It was showing. Everybody could feel it. You know what I mean? So the fact
Yeah.
that yeah, but like I said, I hope they can work it out
Yeah, it
and
takes
move
two.
forward. Yeah, definitely.
Definitely takes two. Like both people want gotta, but that's like I said, B Simone doesn't have a really good track record. And they was showing like all these different people that she kind of like used to be friends with, and then it's like she's one of those kind of people who warps into like a new person with every friend group.
Interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what they were saying. They were showing pictures and stuff like when she hung out with this person, this how she looked. When she hung out with this person, this how she looked. But yeah. Um. So for horoscope, I'm doing Capricorn. I live with two
Child.
Capricorns.
Mm, that's all
Uh,
I'ma say.
um, for love, you have a sixth sense when it comes to love during Monday's intuitive Venus Pluto trine, and your revelations could be life changing. Believe in yourself, even when everyone else thinks you're being delusional. You'll show them. If you're curious about someone, Thursday's Mercury Sagittarius partnership is the right kind of energy you need to get the juicy details. Asking lots of questions leads to some interesting discussions, which helps you find the info you're looking for. Is better to talk in person than via DMs or text. Okay, Capricorn. And for money, you have the unique communication skills to get your ideas and goals across to higher ups at work. It's like a lesson in performance. You have what it takes to get your point across, whether it is a presentation or request for a raise. Aspects help you move forward, affecting groups and self employment. Although you may be working alone, you have a lot of financial support. And for health, you might be tempted to indulge in things that aren't really good for you. They're hard to resist, especially if you've been craving comfort foods lately. It might be more difficult to keep these moods at bay now. Powerful feelings could rise to the surface, and your first impulse might be to suppress them with food. Try to resist.
All right, so we are going to get into this week's episode topic. And this week's episode topic is romantic partners as a reflection of parental relationships. Um, I know that this can be a thing, especially with women and their fathers. The relationships that they have with their fathers can often be reflected in the men that they choose or the type of men that they choose, which I've been there before. Um, and those relationships weren't good. Uh, yeah, so I know that this can be a thing. It's just recognizing it and deciding, hey, do I want to continue this or do I want to make a change? A lot of women can tend to have daddy issues or lack of a dad can make you want to find that in a partner.
Hmm.
So,
Or, I mean, or you could have, I guess, a good example of a father or, you know, positive traits or whatever that you may see in another person. I don't know. I think a lot of times you don't realize that you may not realize that you are attracted to those certain traits or
mhm.
the opposite of certain traits. Because I know some people it's kind of like the opposite. Like people who maybe didn't have like a caring mother or a mother who like showed them attention or whatever, then they may actually gravitate to women who do show them attention or do things that their mother didn't do. Um, and vice versa for women. I think that a lot of times, depending on what somebody's experience is with their parents, um, it could sometimes be a negative reflection, or sometimes it could be a positive thing. And I think as you get older and you are like developing as a person, you realize like certain things that you tend to be more uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it may be certain guys that um you're drawn to, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And you don't realize like why. I don't feel like I ever realized that. Like I never realized it as I was like dating or whatever. It wasn't until as I got older where I realized, especially sometimes my husband's doing things and I'm just like, it could just be like little annoying stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, why is he acting like my dad?
See, I'm opposite, but it's crazy because so I realized that a while ago, and I was like, yeah, no, this is not for me. I don't want somebody who reminds me of my dad. Um, but it's funny because, you know, my dad was very dark and had a different style. And so that's what people tell me with my current relationship, like, oh, he kind of reminds me, not looks wise, but just how he is, as far as his style and his skin color and stuff. And at first I didn't see it, but now I do.
Mhm.
But I think that's the only thing that really I can say because everything else, no.
But that's what I'm saying. I think sometimes it could be like the opposite. Like I feel like with your situation, I feel like your mate um prides himself a lot on like being a father and doing stuff for his children or whatever. And I think that's probably something that you do admire in him. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, it could be because of your relationship with your dad. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like a lot of times everything is usually like connected in some way. Um, but again, everybody has to do the work. You know what I mean? Because you gotta
Mhm.
kind of like, because you're going to take bits and pieces because like your parents are your blueprint. Like they're the first people that you've met, that you've been around. So you're always going to take bits and pieces from them. And a lot of times, sometimes it's things that you're conscious of, and sometimes it's things that you're not conscious of. Or, some people, um, I know some women who don't know their father. You know what I mean? So it's like when you don't know your father, then you're constantly maybe looking for that figure.
Right.
But it's like you don't even have like a blueprint or a foundation to even start with.
Yeah, you just
Um,
looking for somebody who it may be like an older man or somebody who's financially stable and able to provide things for you, different stuff like that that you may not even realize that that's why these are the type of people that you date or navigate towards. Now, I'm gonna say for me in the beginning, when I started dating, a lot of stuff that I did and a lot of stuff that I saw from my mom as she was dating, it reminded me. And I was like,
mhm. Right.
I gotta get
I
it
do think
together.
both parents can be influential. Like I know people who their parents like had several mates or whatever growing
Mhm.
up, and they didn't really like that. They didn't like the constant change or whatever. And so it's like when they had their kids, like I know people who um if they had kids by somebody, like then they like was like, oh no, I'm not gonna be with nobody else. Like, regardless if
Mhm.
the relationship is good or not, like they would be like, well, I only want my kids to know me being with this one person because
Yeah.
growing up, my mom was with several people. But it's
Mhm.
like that's not always healthy. either. Like, you
Especially if
choose
the
somebody because
relationship is abusive or anything like that, yeah. I know
yes.
somebody who the person was abusive verbally, physically, and they still went back and was like, "I just want my kids to have one father." And I
Yes,
was like,
yes. I know
"What
people
the
like that
heck?"
too. Yes, I know people like that too. The pathology honestly is when you kind of look at a lot of people's situation and then you find out like what their parents' stories is and what it's so crazy how it be like repeating, repeating, repeating. I know like for my family, um I feel like my oldest sister, because when she was younger, her mom and dad weren't together. She, in the back of her head, felt like she had to be with her kids' dad. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? But it wasn't a good situation. But it was like I think because of growing up, her dad wasn't in the house with her. She felt like she wanted that for her kids.
mhm.
But that's not
Shoot,
it.
you could have somebody in the household and still be raising your kids like you a single mom, so sometimes that be the thing, that they don't help out, but I know even when I look at my sisters, because like I said, for me, going to therapy pointed out some stuff because I actually did a session with my therapist, my old therapist, on how my parents were as parents
Right.
and the things that some of the ways that I acted and some of the things that I did were a reflection of how my parents were parented me. Um, so even when I look at my sister's relationships, I see some of the same traits as my mom. Now I don't know if they see it, but
Mhm.
again, that's when you're self-aware and you've done some work that you're able to see these things and realize like, oh, yeah, this is not good or this is a horrible trait to carry on because not only do I see it in them, but then with their daughters, you know what I mean? So it's like
Right,
the
right.
cycle
Me too.
continues.
Yeah, yeah. Me too, yeah. I see it, you know, I seen people who did have a father who was kinda like a Rolling Stone or, wasn't really involved and then, like, had a bunch of outside kids or whatever, and then they wind up, like, having a kid by, like, the same type of dude.
Mhm.
Um A lot of times I don't think that it's like it's not that it's intentional, but I think that a lot of times people aren't um I feel like a lot of times some men they can kind of like uh they can kind of pick out those type of women too. You know what I mean? Like, oh well, she
Yeah.
not really cool with her dad. A lot of times when you're in a relationship with somebody, depending on how toxic they are, they may gravitate towards people who don't have close relationships with, their father or their mother or whatever, because they feel like, okay, it's no competition, I don't have to worry about.
Her dad confronting me about the the messed up
Right.
stuff I'm doing. Yeah, that's
Right,
true.
or like, he's gonna depend on me because his mom is not involved,
Mhm,
because it happens on both angles, like, when sometimes men don't have for me personally, from what I see is a lot of men who don't have good relationships with their mother or, their mother really didn't raise them, that definitely affects their relationship with women and the way they look at women.
mhm.
Um, Sometimes some men have unhealthy relationships with women because they didn't have that like maternal connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Or they're some men are so close to their mother
yeah,
that they want their wives or their partners to be just like their mother, and
right.
they'll bring it up, "Well, my mom do this and my mom did that,
Right.
so that's what I expect you to do." Like, no, but
Right.
it happens.
Right.
And then I hear
Yeah.
women say stuff like, which I agree with. My dad was my first love. My dad kind of set the blueprint. But then I get that, but at the same time, these men are not your dad. They don't have all the things or all the tools that your dad may have had. And so you got to give grace in that and not just be like, well, my dad paid all my bills all my life, so that's what you should do too. Or my dad bought me expensive pocketbooks, so that's what you should do too. That's not realistic. So it's a
Yeah, I
thin
think it's just
line.
like finding a medium
Hmm.
of like, somebody who's like disassociated with their parent into somebody who has this like codependency on them. You know what I mean? Because I feel like for me personally, sometimes I feel like in some instances, my husband and my father like be competing sometimes, and it'd be like, chill out.
But do you think that's because you have a good relationship with your dad? Technically, even though your dad recognizes your sisters as his children, you're his daughter, his only daughter, right? And so you can always call your dad for anything and he won't show up for it. So maybe that's why, you know, there's that little competition.
I feel like sometimes he I don't know. It's like sometimes I feel like I don't know if it's just because I don't know. I think some of it is because of me having a husband, and it's like, well, I definitely make sure that I don't imply that like I no longer need him. You get what I'm
Hmm.
saying? But it's some things that he has to let my husband do, because like that's his responsibility.
Hmm.
But and then it's sometimes where I feel like my husband might be like, well, if I'm not there, then he can do it. Like if I'm
Okay.
not there, then he can do it or whatever. And then a lot of times it be on me. I'll be like, no, like you need to do this.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's kind of like a it's a different they both see each other differently, right? So I feel like my husband probably sees my dad more like, well, he knows that my dad will do anything for me. And then I feel like my dad looks at it like um he a little bit don't want me to depend on my husband. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like I feel like sometimes it's like, well, I don't want you to have to depend on him, like I can do it or whatever. But I don't know. I know now having a son, honestly, now having a son, I can see how moms become overbearing, and I can see how moms um like step in like that, because I have, like I said, because now that I have a son, my relationship with my son is completely different than my relationship with my daughter. The way that my son like needs me is so much different than my daughter.
Yeah.
So
Women
I
are
can
naturally independent.
I can see like that carrying on, like like I can see myself being like okay with my son like being fully grown and still living with me. You get what I'm saying? Like
Child, no.
as long as he's working, you know what I mean? Like
No.
I can see myself being okay with that. Whereas
No.
though, yes, whereas though if I was dating a dude, you get what I'm saying? Like, if I was
You
dating a
would you
dude and
want
he
a
still
dude
lived
who
with his
live with his
mom,
mom? No, and that's
that's
the
what I'm
thing.
saying.
That's the thing too. Like, I didn't grow up with brothers in the house, but my youngest brother, who I knew about growing up, when he would come over and like spend time with us, he would literally just get to chill. When it's like, did you make sure your brother ate? Did you make sure your brother like my brother could do stuff on his own? Why are we catering to him? And that
When would
whole
he come
thing,
over when you stayed with your dad?
yeah. When I stayed with my dad, he would come to my grandma's house. He came over a lot. I got pictures with him on the couch and stuff. He came over a lot um when we were growing up, but it still was like make sure your brother this and make sure your brother that, you
Right.
know? And so I hear that a lot with siblings who have brothers, even with people that I counsel. Oh, my brother, he just get to play the game all day and we gotta cook and he don't
But
even he's
see,
supposed to take out the trash and he don't even do that. And it's just like,
yeah. And that's so crazy because I feel like there's always two extremes, right? Like my father didn't grow up in that type of environment. Like he's been working since he was 9. He's the oldest of 4 and he always had to take care of his siblings. You get what I'm saying? So it's like everybody's dynamics, like it's so much complexities in family dynamics where I do know people who their brother, like I feel like in my family we don't have a lot of boys. Like on my mother's side we don't have a lot of boys, and so they they don't really do much. Um but even the comparison with my parents and me. So I'm the youngest in my family, and my mother is the youngest girl in her family. My husband is the oldest in his family, and so is my father.
mm,
So a lot of times being the oldest boy, um, or the firstborn,
right.
it you may it is different. Like my father, I know he had 2 little sisters. So he's always kind of been in that role. He never really had the role where he was the baby and he, was catered to, whatever. He always was the role of taking care of other people.
Hmm.
And then, like I said, my husband, he's the oldest of 5. So just being a big brother is different, you know. And like I said, I'm the baby. My mom is the baby, and she always was kind of like the baby in her family too. They have 2. I mean, she's the baby daughter out of 3 girls, so she's the baby girl or whatever. And I'm the baby girl out of 3 girls. So
But even with that, I say sometimes when boys are the firstborn, if it's a sister close to him, even when she comes along, I've seen the dynamic change where it's like, oh, I don't know. It's just like the brothers, they get to chill and relax, depending on, I think the mom has a lot to do with that. And then if the
right,
father is like okay with it, but if the father is like, no, like I'm gonna teach him good work ethic and stuff that he gotta do, like you said, your dad worked at 9. A lot of people, grown men, like you said, you see your son living with you, that happens, and these grown men never, have a job, or they've always lived at their mom house and they still don't pay no bills, and then eventually mom gets tired and it's like, "Oh, the first woman, Imma pin him off on her," but he doesn't have a job, or he's not able to do this, and he's not emotionally stable, and it's a lot, it's a lot. So, I say tread lightly with that because you don't want your 50-year-old son not having
not
or being
50, honey.
listen, I've seen it. I've seen it. Like, "Oh, I don't live with my mom live with me." Like, "Sir, come on." Come on. But,
Oh
I
my
know
god.
in one of my previous relationships where he was a mama's boy, and, I know I told you the story a million times, but, it was Christmas, and I was working at Foot Locker, we had 50% off, and I had bought him all this stuff, and he really wanted some game console, but I planned on buying a game console after Christmas because it was gonna be on sale. I had already checked it out and everything. So on Christmas, he was on the phone with his mom telling her everything that I bought, and he was like, "Well, she didn't get me my, I don't know, Xbox." And I was joking. I was like, "And I'm not getting it." And she was like, "Well, tell her if she can't take care of my baby to send you home." I'm
Right.
like, "You can go home because what the hell do an Xbox
Right.
got to do
That's what I'm
with
saying.
taking
Like,
care of you?"
yeah, I have no desire to be toxic like that. I do want my husband, I mean my son. I had every intentions on making sure that my son is self-sufficient. You know what I mean? And I don't want him, just like I don't want my daughter to have to depend on a man. I don't want my son to have to depend on a woman to do, to cook, clean, whatever. Like he's gonna be able to handle himself. And that's one thing I'll say is the same. My father cooks. So I always had intentions on being with somebody who could cook.
Mhm.
And my husband can cook. And so it's like different. Everybody is different. Some people grew up in a household where they dad never cooked. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So that's not something that they really like was important to them in a mate. But I that was always something that I wanted. Like I never wanted a man who couldn't cook.
Yeah. It's the but some men cook and they still think, child, I've been here, done that. I'm so glad that I've learned and moved on. Cause ooh,
Right. But
previous
lately
stuff
my
was
husband been
like,
acting like he don't know how to cook because I've been cooking mostly all the time. But like don't act like
child.
you don't know how to cook, brother.
My mom
But
cooked 2 meals. My mom cooked 2 things for dinner. We got to choose. But go ahead on back home to your mom. Cause who has time to do that? You want me to work, clean the house, cook,
girl.
do other like, sir, come on. And not we not even married. So no.
Oh yeah, no.
No. Even if I'm married, I still need a man that know how to cook, don't mind cooking, and no
Right.
stepping if I'm like, I'm tired. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or I had a
Right.
hard day
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
so
But that's what I'm saying, to each their own, because some people are okay with their men not knowing how to cook and them being responsible to make them whatever. Like I said, just for me, even my friends growing up, even my friends would be like, "Oh yeah, your dad always used to," and he did also spoil my mom. Where at one point she really didn't cook, and she kind of like lost how to cook. Like she used to when I was younger, she used to know how to cook. And then as we got older, we was like, oh no, what is this she made?
that is hilarious. That is
Girl, yeah,
hilarious.
she lost her touch because she got so spoiled to where as though she ain't never really had to work. Once we got older, she ain't had to worry about cooking for us. She just make
Mhm.
herself a sandwich or something if my dad didn't cook, or if he cooked the night before, she warm it up or whatever. But she, that lady, I can't tell you the last time she like cooked a meal. Years, years. She
Mm.
hasn't cooked a meal, like not no fast stuff, like cooked a full fledged meal. I was a child, probably.
So your dad cooked for Thanksgiving?
Yeah. Now,
Mhm.
yeah. He,
Okay.
he. I mean, since it's usually just them, so they very seldom host Thanksgiving. They did host Thanksgiving a couple years ago, but yeah, my mom would make probably like the string beans or like a side or two. But my dad always made the turkey anyway. Like growing up, he
Okay.
always made the turkey anyway. But she made like all the sides before. Like growing up, I feel like she made all the sides.
Yeah,
But
that's usually the dynamic with Thanksgiving because I don't know what it is with men and these turkeys. Like
yes,
they gotta show off
right.
they prize turkey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, definitely
So
not here. I make my turkey, but I don't even eat. We don't really even eat dark meat. So I haven't even been making a full turkey. I've been making a turkey breast anyway for a while.
none of y'all eat dark meat? Or you got them conditioned to not eating dark
In
meat?
my house. No, my
Yeah.
kids, they'll eat like chicken legs. I'm actually getting into eating dark meat chicken. I'm more recently. I've been getting into it, but I only like if I make like stewed chicken or something that's cooked for a long time, then
Okay.
I actually have some chicken thighs, and like my husband don't eat dark meat. But growing up, so this is the thing. That's another thing. That's another parallel. That's fun. That's hilarious. So my husband doesn't eat dark meat because growing up, that's all they had.
Mhm.
My father doesn't eat dark meat because growing up, that's all they had. So
Right.
me growing up, I didn't grow up on dark meat.
Okay.
Isn't that wild? Just thinking about it now.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up on dark meat because my father grew up on dark meat and he didn't like it. He only ate wings and chicken breasts. That's all we
Mhm.
had growing up because of, I guess, when he was growing up, that's all they
Yeah,
had was dark
it's
meat.
cheaper. It's cheaper.
I know,
So
but I'm just
listen.
saying, like, the parallels of, like, my husband, because that's the whole purpose of this. But
Mhm.
it's like it's not
Yeah.
something that you, like, talk about when you're dating, like, "Oh, do you eat dark meat?"
Right.
Okay, like,
Right.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just like
Yeah.
some of the things that happen is just aligned that
Mhm.
way. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I've been, like I said, more recently, I've been actually buying dark meat to make like a stew dish with rice, because um it takes
Sometimes if
it
you, I was about to say, if you try to do that with white meat, it can dry it out. So
exactly.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, but more so like me and my kids, they eat chicken legs. Um, they'll eat it with me. They'll eat it with me, but I can't serve this man. He'll he do not do the dark meat.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
funny. Well,
exactly.
when you, it's like the longer you're with somebody, the more you learn about them and learn about, how they grew up, things that they went through. Just like, sometimes when we're driving places and things are like reminiscent and stuff, like stories come with it. So the more that learn about a person, the more you could kind of be like, okay, this this is that and that is this. But it's always, I think, like we talked about in the previous um episode, to get like certain things. Because again, if cancer runs in your family and I plan on having kids with you, or different diseases and stuff like that. Like that's stuff that we don't ask about it, but we should more, because your kids come out with different stuff and you're like, well, where did my child get this from? But even the mental health, a lot of that runs in our family. So I think those things need to be discussed more um, with relationships, because you learn more. You get to learn why people are the way that they are. Just like you said with the dark meat, now you know why. So yeah. Excuse me. So yeah, I mean, like you said, to each his own. People like what they like. People have their
Mhm.
reasons, and their reasons for dating who they date, or reasons for not dating who they date or settle down with, and things like that. But again, do your ancestry too, because that's also important. If your dad or your mom is not around, to
It's
learn
about
about.
you dating your brother.
Listen, exactly, exactly. So, it's so funny. I don't know if I told you that my mom my mom has two sisters by her dad, and my cousin is doing the ancestry. And I never met my mom's dad. He died. My mom's dad and my mom's mom died before I was born. I never knew how this man died. They talk about he had ate some beans. He had cooked this big pot of beans and he ate it before he went to bed, and he never woke up. They said he had a heart attack in his sleep. And they want to say it was probably from them beans, because he used to eat
What?
like a lot of hot sauce on his
Oh
beans.
my
I'm like,
god.
this story is crazy. But yeah, she's doing the ancestry. So, and she sends me stuff because they don't really know a lot about um my mom's side of the family, which neither do I, but I know more
You
than
mean
they
your
know.
mom's on your dad's side?
What you mean my mom's on my dad's side?
You saying your mom's side of the family, but you mean your mom on
My
her
mom's
dad's
family,
side.
yeah, I know, yeah, on her dad's side. I know about my mom's on my mom's side, because those are the family members that I'm in contact with. Now, on my mom's dad's side, my aunts are the only people that I'm in contact with. But according to this ancestry, a lot of them out there just have no contact with them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to end our episode like we always do with our lyrics. So what's your lyrics for this week?
Mine is from Daddy Lessons and Beyonce. With his gun, with his head held high, he told me not to cry. Oh, my daddy said shoot. Oh, my daddy said shoot. With his right hand on his rifle, he swore it on the Bible. My daddy said shoot. Oh, my daddy said shoot. He held in his arms and he taught me to be strong. He told me when he's gone, here's what you do. When trouble comes in town and men like me come around, oh, my daddy said shoot. Oh, my daddy said shoot.
Hilarious. Okay. So my lyrics are from You Remind Me by Usher. And the lyrics say, You remind me of a girl that I once knew. See her face whenever I look at you. Wouldn't believe all the things she put me through. This is why I just can't get with you. I know it's so unfair to you that I'm relating her ignorance to you. Wish I knew how to separate the two.
You know what's crazy is that I never even realized like that song you sing it and you think it's like he liked the girl, right? You remind me of a girl. You like,
Yeah.
okay.
But
He
no,
like,
when you
no.
read the lyrics,
No,
no.
boo. Can't do that.
Right. Nope.
Like, I know
Nope,
you ain't
nope,
got
nope.
nothing to do with that girl, but
Yeah.
it's hilarious.
So we are going to get out of here. Remember, you can catch us every week on Wednesday on 216 The Blend. We are also on YouTube. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Um, and you can tap the link in our bio on Instagram at _J.A.W.N_podcast. That is where you can find us at. And all the links to where we are in our bio. So we will catch you guys next week. Peace.
Hold up, hold up, hold up. Don't leave yet. Thanks for listening to my mom and auntie. Make sure you guys follow them on Instagram at the underscore John underscore podcast. On Twitter at W underscore the J. On TikTok at the John A podcast. And visit our website www.johnpod.net. Don't forget to ask the Joy sending your listening letters to thejohnpod at gmail.com. Period.
This is the Joy, a podcast. I love y'all. Be forward.